When you've got a cross-cultural dynamic, there are always differences that need to be understood. I think some of the differences I see in Huawei and with Chinese business culture in particular include a focus on hard work. You know, every company is focused on working hard and being productive, but I think when a company and many of its staff come from a legacy where there's scarcity rather than abundance, I think there's a heightened competition and there's more emphasis on hard work. What I have observed is, when approaching Chinese businesses or working in Chinese business culture, I think firstly you need appetite. You need to be prepared to invest the time, the money, the hard work to build success in a foreign market or dealing with foreign companies. Secondly, you need to have the awareness and the knowledge. Right? I think a lot of Australian businessmen are aware of different cultural backgrounds and different business backgrounds from different countries. And the Japanese is a perfect example when they started to expand globally in the 60s and 70s. But it's one thing to be aware of the cultural differences. The hard part is actually adjusting your behaviour, your tactics, your management style so that you fit in with that different cultural context. Resilience is, I think, a very important characteristic for any manager, and I think it's particularly important if you are working in a cross-cultural environment. When I say resilience, I'm really referring to tolerating obstacles with ease and with patience, right? And also not being easily offended. Right? That might seem like an unusual thing to say, but it's easy to misinterpret cultural differences and become offended by them. And 9 times out of 10, maybe 10 times out of 10, that's not the right reaction. Another difference is in relation to trust. Right? In a classic Western context, you start with trust, right? And then if you behave in such a way that you betray that trust, you lose the trust. I think in Chinese business context, you don't start with trust, you earn the trust. So in that Chinese cultural context, the one where you have scarcity versus abundance, the normal situation is one where you may not have the same level of trust at the outset that you have in the Western context. There's a lot of talk locally about, do you need to learn, for example, Mandarin in order to be effective in doing business in China or with Chinese companies? I don't think that's necessary. I think AsiaLink, for example, has concluded that it's not realistic for senior executives to learn a second language. And as someone who's trying at the moment, I probably agree with them. But you don't need the language. It's really around the cultural awareness and adjusting your behaviour based on that awareness. And I do think that as a business community, we still have some work to do to become more China literate or Asia literate.